Welcome to episode 4 of Connecting the Dots ADHD. My name's Chris. I am 55 years old and was diagnosed with ADHD a little over 3 weeks ago, about 3.5 weeks ago. So that's what this channel is, just me kind of going over some dots that I'm connecting now, finding out that I have ADHD, to growing up with ADHD and not knowing it. Real quick again, like I say in all my videos, this is not expert professional advice. I am not an expert. I am not a health professional. This is just me just telling some stories, thinking maybe some people could relate to it and get a laugh or comment about, their, stories of realizing that when they were older, they have ADHD and wondering why, when they were a kid, that they were the way they were. So that's it about that. So again, this is not expert advice. If you're looking for advice, except I will say this one is kind of advice-ish, but this is also my personal experience. So this is not a guarantee. I did this on my own, and I also did this not even knowing that I have ADHD. So what I wanted to go over is sleeping. I could never sleep. All right. Especially like when I got into my 20s and later, all the way, like I didn't start sleeping well until my late 40s. Did not know I had ADHD though. I just thought that I couldn't sleep. But I had a job at a gym. I'm a fitness professional. I've said that in videos in the past. So I had a job at a gym where they wanted me to start teaching some 5 a.m. classes. And I already struggled teaching 6 a.m. classes because I just couldn't fall asleep. Whenever I would lay down, my mind would just be racing. I couldn't shut my brain off. I just couldn't relax and just be able to fall asleep. I would lay in bed for hours before I finally would actually be able to fall asleep. I was always able to stay asleep. So I always was able to do that. So that was never a problem. Even if I got up, say in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, majority of the time I could lay down and be back asleep within 10 minutes. So it was always a problem falling asleep, always a problem with my mind just racing and thoughts just popping up all over and this and that and things I wanted to try to get done the next day, or why am I so lazy, and beating myself up about that. All these things would keep me up at night. But I was kind of forced to figure something out when I was asked to teach these 5 a.m. classes, because I couldn't turn down money, because I'd be teaching 2 more classes a week, so 8 classes a month. So I was another couple $100 a month that I would be making. So I was like, all right, I'll just do it. And if I have to sleep the rest of the day when I get home, so be it. But I'm going to try to figure out a way that I can actually start to try to get some sleep. So I started researching on sleep and ran into, just ways to help sleep at night or fall asleep. And breath work is something that I found. So breathing, the way you breathe. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but the way you breathe is super important to your health. And there's also different types of breathing to help with different things. So I don't want to get too much into that, but there's types of breathing to help your body relax. There's also types of breathing to help your brain wake up and do the actual opposite. Okay. And it's all different ways to do this. And breathing in and out of your nose is very important too. Again, these are all health things. So I would definitely look into looking at breath work. And it's basically, you can, like I said, it's like a meditation type of thing, but it doesn't have to be meditation. It can just be the way that you breathe. I learned about this thing called box breathing, which was supposed to be something that calms your nervous system and so you can try to fall asleep, so you're not, so like in the fight or flight. It's supposed to switch your brain from fight or flight, not saying that that's even what it was, but let's just use as an example of fight or flight and that high alert while I was trying to go to sleep, and switch it down to like rest and digest. So there's 2 different nervous systems, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Okay, one is fight or flight, one is rest or digest. Again, I'm just using those as context. That does not necessarily mean that that's what the problem was. It just makes it easier to explain. The box breathing helps get you into that rest and digest mode. And a big reason why it probably did this, and I'll go over this even more, but it kind of helped me focus on one thing. So box breathing is when you breathe in for a certain time, hold that for a certain amount of time, breathe out for a certain amount of time, and then hold that for a certain amount of time. And it's also kind of important that you do this breathing in and out of your nose, because that's another thing that can switch your body from both of those nervous systems is whether you breathe in and out through your mouth, or whether you breathe out in and out through your nose. And breathing in and out through your nose helps you get to that rest and digest, feeling. I started doing the box breathing, started off just holding for like maybe 5 seconds, holding for 5 seconds and breathing out for 5 seconds. So I'll do a quick demo. I'll see if I can do this right, but I'll start with breathing in, holding, breathing out, and then holding, okay? So breathing in. Then you would repeat the process. I'd breathe back in through my nose for 5, but you can do it for 3 seconds. You can do it for 4 seconds. You can do it wherever you feel comfortable at first, because in the beginning, when you're holding your breath, you can kind of panic a little bit, which is strange that it would actually help regulate your nervous system, but it does. At least it does for me. But that to give you an idea, like now some days I can go up to like breathing in for 8 seconds, and it's just all about doing it slow though. You don't want to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It should be like 1, 2, 3. So it's all about slowing everything down. And then what the box breathing then does with holding the breath, then when you do breathe in and breathe out, it actually brings more oxygen into your body, into your brain, and to help everything kind of just chill out. So I started doing this, and I would say, took a couple weeks, but I did start noticing a difference. I started able to fall asleep a little bit faster. Then I really noticed a big difference is when I actually started doing it during the day too. I would just take some times throughout the day to do it. A lot of times what I was doing is after I was done working out, because I also did find out that there's studies that show doing box breathing for minimum of 3 minutes can really actually get your body into recovery mode faster, which would then mean you get more out of the workout that you just did, which all makes sense too about why it helps you fall asleep, because with your heart rate variability, it helps, like that's all recovery and stuff like that. So it helps you kind of just, again, instead of racing and everything fight or flight, it's getting you down to that rest and digest. So I started noticing when I would do it during the day, sometimes one time, sometimes a couple times, sometimes a bunch of times, if I could think about and remember, I started falling asleep really quick. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So, about 5 years into this box breathing, I don't worry about trying to fall asleep anymore. Like I used to freak out trying to fall asleep because I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd always wind up going downstairs and watching TV. So if this is something, this is just something that I've noticed myself. It's not any sort of diagnosis or anything like that. But if you're the type of person that can fall asleep watching the TV a lot easier than just lying in bed in silence, that could be a sign. Reason being is because when you're lying in bed, nothing else around you, everything's quiet. You're all in your brain. Everything's going on in your brain. If you watch TV, you got something to focus on. All right, so it calms your brain down and it gives you something to focus on. The only problem with that though is all that light, you may not be getting very good sleep. Again, I could go onto this whole sleep thing in health for hours, but I just want to, just give you a quick idea of maybe something to try if you do have a hard time falling asleep. So look into box breathing, check that out. Like I said, I kind of gave a quick demo. Maybe start with 3 seconds, but again, just be slow with it. It's all about being slow and taking your time. Here's some reasons why this might help. All right, I had my own ideas, but I also, I always like to double check. So I'll Google it, use AI or something like that. But definitely some things that popped up that I was aware of that kind of figured is the nervous system. It relaxes your nervous system. Puts you into that rest and digest, but it also, like I mentioned earlier, it gives you one thing to focus on. So your mind isn't racing like crazy. You're just focusing on that breath because you have to think about it. You have to focus on it. So it is a type of meditation. So basically you're meditating is how I look at it. Is that a lot of people think meditation is about just shutting your brain down and not thinking about anything. That's not even remotely close to that'd be impossible. It would literally be freaking impossible to just shut your brain off and not think about anything. What it tries to do is help you focus on one thing to get rid of all the noise and all the different things going on around you, to just focus on the present or not thinking about things in the past or not trying to think about the future. Because if you are going to be sitting there counting, your breath and how long you're breathing and how long you're holding and stuff like that, you need to think about that, because if you stop thinking about that, then you're not doing it. So in order to do it, you need to actually just focus on that. So that is a big, big part of it, is definitely the focus. Another thing is, when I started to add it throughout the day, is that another thing that I was reading about when it comes to trying to fall asleep and not being able to fall asleep. If you are always going throughout your day in that heightened state, if you're spending most of your day in fight or flight, and that could be for anything, you honestly, you may not even have ADHD. You may just be a mouth breather. And if you're a mouth breather, chances are you're always in that nervous system of fight or flight. So breathing in and out of your nose, that's another big thing too, is always try to be breathing in and out of your nose to keep your body relaxed throughout the day. But doing that box breathing throughout the day, instead of me trying to go to sleep at night with my brain, at 100 miles an hour all day long, and then trying to like just shut that down right when I fall asleep, taking these little breaks throughout the day, maybe, kind of keeps me more at 40 miles an hour throughout the day. So now when I go to lay down and go to sleep, I'm not super revved up at 100 miles an hour. I'm starting off at maybe 40 or 50 miles an hour. And so I'm able to just kind of chill out and relax. That's a big part of why I notice, why I think starting to do box breathing throughout the day really started to help with falling asleep better at night. Because like I said, very rarely do I have a hard time falling asleep. And if it is, it's just because sometimes if I do, I forget to box breathe, and I box breathe, and then within 10 or 15 minutes, I'm asleep. So the box breathing is definitely, for me, what changed it all. So just, I don't know, some things to think about. Like if you're someone that lays in bed, and just can't get their brain to shut off, can't stop wondering and their mind wandering. And it doesn't necessarily have to be negative thoughts. So don't think that, oh, but I'm not thinking negatively, so it's not it. Because the reason I say this, because I said that I would beat myself up sometimes at night because I didn't accomplish the things that I wanted to during the day because of my executive dysfunction that I didn't realize that I had. But it could be you just, you look forward to things and you're like trying to think of things in the head, for the next day, or, wondering like, okay, did I get everything done today that I wanted to get done? You could start making your to-do list is another way to look at it. You can start doing your to-do list at night. So maybe do your to-do list an hour before you go to bed. And then that will also help along with the box breathing. So give that a try. Comment even beforehand if you see this video, and I'm getting a couple views now every now and then. So if you do see this video and you are in the situation where you do have trouble sleeping, but you haven't tried box breathing yet, comment to let me know that you are someone that does have trouble sleeping and that you're going to give this a shot. And then comment later, maybe in a couple weeks or so, if you start to feel a difference, let me know. Some other things to think about too that I wanted to mention, and it just popped in my head now, is I also started getting daylight early in the day to set my circadian rhythm. All right, I got this from Huberman Lab's podcast when they were talking about sleep, and getting up and getting sunlight as early as possible in the day. They really say if you can get it like within the first hour of sunrise, somewhere around there, that will help set your circadian rhythm. And then when it's time to go to bed, your body will also naturally start to release the chemicals to help you fall asleep. So that's something to think about also. All right. So comment if you're going to give this a try, or even comment if this is something that you figured out on your own too, and this box breathing or just breathing practices in general, breath work in general, has helped you out. All right. So hope you enjoy this video. I hope this one does help. Like I said, this one is kind of advice, but it's definitely something that has helped me 100%. This is what's helped me fall asleep. So if you are struggling, maybe it'll help you too. Like, comment, do all that other stuff. And thanks for watching my video.